All right, let's dive right into this explainer and reframe something we literally all dread into a completely fascinating psychological detective story. We're going to unpack the real science and evolutionary psychology behind why our brains are just so incredibly good at making us cringe. Picture this, right? It's 2 a.m. You're just staring at the ceiling, trying to sleep, and suddenly, your brain decides it is the perfect time to replay, in high definition, that incredibly awkward joke you made at a party like 5 years ago. Your stomach drops. You wince. We've all been there. But why does this happen? Why do we remember that one single embarrassing slip-up with crystal clarity, but we can't seem to remember the 5 genuine compliments we got just last week? Well, that is exactly the core mystery we're going to solve today. Section 1. The Midnight Cringe. Unraveling the Mystery of Social Memory. To understand this super annoying phenomenon, we first have to realize it's not some personal flaw. It's actually a biological quirk called the negativity bias. Back in 2001, psychologists published this landmark paper called Bad is Stronger Than Good, and they proved that our brains are quite literally wired to prioritize negative or threatening information. I mean, from a survival standpoint, ignoring a good opportunity is disappointing, sure, but ignoring a threat? That's deadly. Because of this baked-in evolutionary feature, a single embarrassing comment you made carries the psychological weight of 10 compliments. Moving on to Section 2. Inside your social brain, the biological culprits. So what's the actual hardware acting as the culprit here? When you make a social misstep, this specific triad of brain regions just goes into absolute overdrive. First up, the amygdala. That's your emotional alarm center. It flags the event as highly crucial, literally flooding your system with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. It then signals the hippocampus to firmly bookmark this event for long-term storage, basically yelling, "Do not forget this." Meanwhile, your prefrontal cortex is just desperately trying to interpret and contextualize all that intense emotion. Your brain is essentially chemically stamping this memory into your mind so you never ever repeat the mistake. And this brilliantly illustrates why trying to process the memory often just makes it worse. Think of your memory like walking through a field of tall grass. The first time you walk it, you leave a faint path. But every single time you lie awake, replaying that awkward moment, you're walking that exact path again. You are literally strengthening the neural loop. Your brain makes the memory permanent and way more vivid through repetition, even if everyone else involved has completely forgotten it. Which brings us to a really fascinating comparison. Human memory was designed for survival, and early humans depended entirely on social belonging to stay alive. Because of that, your brain doesn't just see a social mistake as a minor oops, it treats it as a legitimate danger. It's virtually identical to a physical injury, like a broken bone. The crucial link here is a little brain region called the insula. So when you recall an embarrassing memory and your stomach literally twists or your face flushes with heat, you aren't imagining it. Your insula, which processes both physical and social pain, is firing off. Your brain is giving you a real physical punishment for a social mistake because it desperately wants to protect you from being excluded from the tribe. All right, Section 3. The spotlight effect, the illusion of being noticed. Now that we understand the biology of why it hurts so much, let's talk about the massive illusion your brain creates. If you've ever felt like you're standing center stage under a bright spotlight and everyone is judging your bad haircut or your stuttering presentation, you are experiencing the spotlight effect. It is so vital to understand that this heightened self-consciousness is just a predictable mental shortcut. It's a cognitive bias, guys, not reality. You're the main character in your own life, but to everyone else, you're really just an extra passing through their movie. Interestingly, this wasn't formally named until a huge breakthrough study at Cornell University in the year 2000. Psychologists Thomas Gilovich, Victoria Medvec, and Kenneth Savitsky designed experiments to measure the exact gap between how much attention we think we attract and how much we actually receive. This study finally put a name to that universal feeling of being hyper-perceived. To test this out, they ran just a brilliantly awkward experiment. They forced college students to wear a deeply uncool t-shirt featuring the singer Barry Manilow into a room full of their peers. Afterwards, the t-shirt wearers guessed that about 50% of the room noticed their embarrassing shirt, but the actual recall, only 25%. That 2-to-1 ratio is remarkably consistent across cultures. We consistently overestimate how much people notice our flaws by roughly double. So why does this happen? Well, first is anchoring. You start from your own intense, panicked perspective. That's the anchor. And you fail to adjust enough to realize others just aren't panicked. Second is the egocentric bias. Your own thoughts and feelings are simply louder and way more vivid to you than anyone else's. And finally, the curse of knowledge. You know you tripped on the curb, so it's basically impossible for you to imagine the perspective of someone who happened to be looking at their phone and just missed it entirely. Section 4. Evolution of social pain, the hidden motive. Why on earth did our ancestors pass down this spotlight-obsessed alarm system in the first place? Tracing this back, for early foragers and ancient tribes, survival depended entirely on mutual aid. If your group devalued you and kicked you out, you died. Period. Social rejection was a literal death sentence. The problem is, modern humans are walking around with this exact same ancient alarm system. So a mechanism meant to keep us safe from starvation and predators now gets triggered when you accidentally wave at a stranger who wasn't waving at you. I absolutely love this quote because it completely reframes how we look at our own cringe. The function of shame is to prevent us from damaging our social relationships or to motivate us to repair them if we do. Shame isn't your brain trying to torture you. It is an elegant, precisely calibrated defense mechanism designed entirely to protect your social standing. And extensive academic research totally backs this up. The information threat theory of shame argues that shame isn't a glitch. It's a fundamental biological feature designed to minimize the spread of negative information about you. It's a foundational biological capacity of human nature, just like our ability to learn language. Which leads us to one of the absolute most fascinating theories we found in the sources, the invisibility hypothesis. Think about it. When you feel embarrassed, what do you naturally do? You slump your posture, you avert your gaze, you look down. Evolutionary psychologists suggest this isn't just a sign of submission, it's actual camouflage. Looking ashamed is your body's evolutionary attempt to render you invisible, hoping observers won't encode your face into their memory as the person who messed up. Your body is literally trying to hide you in plain sight. Okay, final part, Section 5, dimming the spotlight, taking back control. So, how do we actually hack this system? Clinical psychology offers a really practical strategy called the SPOT framework. Step 1, stop. When you feel that intense embarrassment, name it. Just say, okay, this is the spotlight effect. My brain is overestimating the attention I'm getting. Step 2 is perspective shift. Ask yourself what you're thinking about. Probably yourself, right? Well, realize everyone else in the room is doing the exact same thing. They're focused on themselves, not you. And step 3, test. Challenge your assumptions. Ask a friend if they even noticed your mistake. More often than not, you're going to find the intense scrutiny you imagined simply wasn't there. Let's end on this thought. If everyone else is the main character of their own movie, completely busy worrying about their own imaginary spotlight, who is actually watching you? The answer is almost no one. And that is a profoundly liberating realization. Your embarrassing memories are really just ancient survival tools firing out of context. You are completely free to just be yourself, make mistakes, and let that midnight cringe finally fade away.